10 terrifying archaeological discoveries in history that shocked the world. Hello, and welcome back to the Ancient History Channel. My friend, did you know that although our world may seem familiar on the surface, deep beneath the dust of time lie countless mysteries quietly waiting to be revealed? Have you ever wondered how ancient people lived before we came into existence, or how they managed to build structures so magnificent and awe-inspiring? Stories that may sound like they belong only in textbooks are, in fact, vividly recorded through the physical remains left behind by the past. Over thousands of years of history, modern humans have uncovered massive structures that challenge the limits of imagination. Stone coffins weighing tens of tons, yet crafted with astonishing precision. And mummies thousands of years old that still preserve the unmistakable marks of a long-lost era. Each discovery not only leaves scientists in awe, but also forces us, those living in the present, to pause and reflect. Because behind every ruin and every artifact lies more than just stone, metal, or bone. They represent entire civilizations, belief systems, and ancient ways of understanding the universe and life itself. These remnants are like hidden doors. Once opened, an ancient world suddenly appears before our eyes, vivid, mysterious, and deeply captivating. So if you are someone who is curious, who enjoys questioning the past, and who feels a chill of excitement when uncovering the unknown, then today's video is made just for you. Join Ancient History as we travel back through time on a journey to explore 10 mysterious and fascinating archaeological discoveries, findings that have shaken the very foundations of human history. Are you ready? If so, let's begin. An alleged alien mummy with its arms wrapped around its belly for 1,200 years. Earth is full of unbelievable stories, and some of them are so strange that just hearing about them is enough to make our brains do a complete double-take. The mystery surrounding the three-fingered mummies discovered in the Nazca desert of Peru is one of those stories. At first, many people assumed they were nothing more than ancient, dried human remains that had lain undisturbed for thousands of years. But the deeper researchers dug, the more shocking and even unsettling the discoveries became. Everything began in 2017, when a local man named Leandro Rivera reportedly found dozens of unusual mummies inside a cave. These bodies did not resemble ordinary humans at all. Their hands had only 3 long fingers. Their skulls were elongated toward the back as if taken straight out of a science fiction movie, and metal implants were found inside their bodies. It's easy to see why the international community was immediately thrown into an uproar. Naturally, artifacts this bizarre sparked intense controversy. Some scientists argued that the mummies were not real at all, claiming they were merely artificial creations made from animal bones, industrial glue, and an overactive human imagination. But then came a series of revelations that left even the skeptics momentarily speechless. During a recent analysis at an X-ray center in Lima, Dr. David Ruiz Vela and journalist Joyce Mantilla made a stunning discovery. Inside one of the mummies, previously named Montserrat by researchers, was a 1,200-year-old fetus. Yes, a real fetus, located inside the uterus, positioned exactly like an unborn child who never had the chance to enter the world. CT scan results revealed that the fetus was lying on its back, with its head oriented downward toward the mother's abdomen. A completely natural position for a fetus under 30 weeks of gestation. The research team determined the fetal age by measuring the femur bone, which was just about 1.7 inches long. This alone was enough for them to conclude that it was impossible to fabricate by hand. And do you know what unsettled them the most? Montserrat's 3-fingered hands were still positioned as if cradling her belly, as though the maternal instinct remained intact, even after her body had been desiccated for over 1,000 years. These mummies are commonly referred to by a name that sounds distinctly alien, tridactyl, meaning 3-fingered. This unusual trait has led some to propose bold theories. Could these beings be descendants of extraterrestrial life? Or perhaps a parallel branch of human evolution that history never recorded? The more sensational the theory, the faster it spread. However, Mantilla, who has closely followed the research, points out that many anatomical features still closely resemble those of humans. Even so, reaching a definitive conclusion will require many more samples and far deeper analysis. What truly troubles scientists even more are the metal plates discovered in the hands, chest, and heads of several of these specimens. In Montserrat's case, some of these metal pieces appear to have been implanted while she was still alive, with skin and tissue growing naturally around the metal. This raises an unsettling question. At that time, who could possibly have performed such advanced medical implantation if not beings far beyond known ancient technology? Material analysis revealed that the implants contain copper, aluminum, gold, and silver with up to 95% purity, materials that are rare even in nature. Most astonishing of all were traces of cadmium and osmium, high-end materials used in modern aerospace technology. So how could such substances exist inside bodies believed to be 1,200 years old? Montserrat is not an isolated case. Many other tridactyl mummies discovered at the site also contain internal metal structures, and even more puzzling, their bodies show no signs of rejecting these materials. If they were fake, how could metal be implanted and then left long enough for skin to grow around it? But if they are real, the implications are so profound that they could potentially force humanity to rewrite its own history. As of now, researchers are still racing to find solid answers. What is the true origin of these three-fingered mummies? Were they a unique group of ancient humans, the result of an unknown form of biomedical practice, or evidence of something far beyond our current understanding? For now, these questions remain unanswered. But one thing is certain: the deeper researchers dig, the more questions emerge. And the mystery of Nazca continues to unfold layer by layer, like an ancient book where every page sends a chill down the reader's spine. Hundreds-year-old bodies, preserved intact without ever being mummified. There are mysteries in history that, the deeper we explore them, the smaller we humans feel in the face of nature's power. And the story of bodies remaining intact for hundreds of years in Italy is one such case. No chemicals, no elaborate embalming techniques, no modern technology. And yet, time itself seems to have forgotten these bodies, leaving future generations with a profound, unanswered question. Everything began in 1647, when local residents accidentally uncovered a tomb within the grounds of St. Andrew's Church in the town of Venzone, located in northeastern Italy. Inside the tomb lay the body of a man. But what stunned everyone was not a dry skeleton, but a body that was nearly perfectly preserved. From the skin to the body's shape, and even the internal organs, everything remained intact in a way that seemed almost impossible for a body that had been buried underground for centuries. Following this initial discovery, numerous other tombs within the grounds of St. Andrew's Church were examined, and once again, the same strange phenomenon appeared. In total, 42 bodies were found in a state of virtually no decomposition, despite showing no evidence of having been embalmed. This discovery quickly shocked the scientific and archaeological communities, as it directly contradicted the known laws of human decomposition. However, tragedy struck in 1976 when a powerful earthquake devastated the region. After the disaster, the number of intact bodies was reduced to only about 15. Even so, that was more than enough to turn St. Andrew's Church into one of the most mysterious sites in Europe. And then came the next revelation. During detailed examinations, experts noticed several striking similarities among the preserved bodies. First, each body was extremely lightweight, weighing only between 22 and 44 pounds. Next, the skin had turned a yellowish-brown color, dry and tough, resembling finely treated leather. Most remarkably of all, the internal organs were still largely intact, something that is extraordinarily rare in archaeology. All of these signs suggest that the bodies underwent a completely natural mummification process, without the use of chemicals or any form of artificial intervention. This realization prompted scientists to launch extensive investigations to uncover the true cause behind this phenomenon. Some experts proposed that a parasitic fungus known as Hypha tombicidia may have played a crucial role. This fungus is believed to absorb moisture and slow down decomposition, allowing the bodies to dry out naturally over time. However, not everyone agrees with this explanation. Another school of thought argues that the burial environment itself was the key factor. The limestone-rich soil surrounding the tombs at St. Andrew's Church may have created unique conditions that preserved the bodies for centuries. Factors such as humidity, temperature, air circulation, and soil composition may have combined in a near-perfect balance to produce this rare phenomenon. Even so, to this day, all of these theories remain speculative. No definitive explanation has been found to explain how the bodies at St. Andrew's Church were able to defy time so dramatically. And it is precisely this uncertainty that makes the story even more captivating, leaving us to wonder, could it be that there are still laws of nature that humanity has yet to fully understand? What do you think about this mystery? Don't hesitate to share your thoughts in the comments below. Bloodstained mask over 1,000 years old reveals a chilling ritual along the coast of ancient Peru. You know, our small world is full of archaeological discoveries that can send chills down your spine the moment you hear about them. Not necessarily because they are enormous, nor simply because they are ancient, but because what lies behind them goes far beyond the imagination of modern humans. The story of a blood-stained golden mask more than 1,000 years old, discovered along the northern coast of Peru, is one such mystery, both fascinating and deeply unsettling. It all began in the 1990s, when a large-scale archaeological project known as the Coffin project was launched and continued for several decades. The goal of this project was to gain a deeper understanding of the pre-Inca cultures that once flourished in what is now Peru. During excavations along the northern coastline, archaeologists entered an ancient tomb and encountered a discovery that left the entire research community stunned. At the very center of the tomb lay the skeletal remains of a man with an exquisitely crafted golden mask firmly attached to his face. Analysis revealed that the mask was more than 1,000 years old. But the most disturbing detail was this: the man's head had been severed from his body, and his burial position was tightly curled, resembling a fetus in the womb. This detail alone raised countless questions about the true meaning of the burial ritual. The discoveries did not stop there. As archaeologists examined the rest of the tomb, they uncovered 4 additional sets of remains, 2 women and 2 children. All were buried in tightly contracted positions, surrounding the man at the center. Around them were numerous gold artifacts, including jewelry and ceremonial objects. These clues strongly suggest that the tomb's owner was a wealthy individual of exceptionally high status in ancient society. Further studies determined that the man died between the ages of 40 and 50 and belonged to the Sican culture, a civilization that thrived along Peru's northern coast from the 8th century through the late 14th century. The Sican people were renowned throughout the region for their advanced metallurgical skills, especially their mastery of gold. To them, gold was not merely a precious material, but a sacred substance deeply connected to religious beliefs and ceremonial practices. The golden mask became even more shocking when scientists analyzed the red pigment coating its surface. The red coloring was not only present on the mask, but was also embedded into the facial remains beneath it, indicating that the mask had been painted after it was placed on the deceased's face. At first, researchers believed the pigment was simply cinnabar, a red mineral commonly used in ancient rituals. However, chemical analysis revealed a far more disturbing truth. The red coating was actually a mixture of human blood, cinnabar, and egg white. This discovery immediately sparked a wave of theories surrounding the burial ritual. Researchers suggest that the use of human blood to paint the mask, combined with the unusual burial posture, may be linked to a rebirth ritual. According to Sican beliefs, death was not the end, but the beginning of a new life cycle in the afterworld. As for the women and children buried alongside him, they may have been family members, or possibly attendants of this powerful figure. Their joint burial may have been part of a ritual of accompaniment intended to serve the tomb's owner in his next life. If this hypothesis is correct, then this ritual was both brutal and haunting, a stark reflection of the dark and unsettling aspects of the ancient world, one that modern humanity can only shudder at when imagining. The Screaming Woman, Mummy. What message did ancient Egypt leave behind? Imagine one day you are flipping through the dust-covered pages of ancient Egyptian history and suddenly you come across the image of a mummy, its mouth wide open as if screaming in terror. Let me assure you, this was not because she was angry from being cold at night or lacking blankets. What you are seeing is the so-called Screaming Woman, one of the most unsettling mummies ever recorded in archaeology. And now, let us embark on a journey to uncover the mystery behind that silent scream, to discover what she may have been trying to tell us for more than 3,400 years. The story begins in 1935, when an expedition was excavating the tomb of Senenmut, a brilliant architect, a powerful royal official, and the rumored lover of the famous Queen Hatshepsut. Directly beneath his tomb, archaeologists discovered a simple wooden coffin containing something profoundly disturbing. Inside lay the mummy of an unidentified woman. She wore a glossy black wig and was adorned with two scarab rings made of silver and gold, valuable items by any standard. But what left the expedition truly stunned, quite literally matching her own expression, was her face. Her mouth was stretched wide open, her jaw rigid, giving the unmistakable appearance of someone groaning or screaming. One look was enough to send chills down anyone's spine, and thus the name The Screaming Woman was born. But before you assume this is the stuff of horror movies, modern scientific analysis has revealed much more about her life and her death. CT scans showed that she died at approximately 48 years old, stood about 5 feet 1 inch tall, suffered from mild arthritis in her spine, and had lost several teeth, likely before death, so this was certainly not a case of screaming until her teeth fell out. Most striking of all, she was embalmed using juniper resin and frankincense, extremely expensive substances that had to be imported, not locally sourced. This alone suggests that her social status was far from ordinary. So the question remains, why does her face appear frozen in a scream? Dr. Sahar Salim, a leading researcher at Cairo University, explains that this expression may be the result of cadaveric spasm, a rare form of muscle stiffening that occurs at the exact moment of death, typically under extreme physical or emotional stress. In simple terms, the body becomes locked in its final, most intense position. It is as if she carried that final scream with her into eternity. Disturbing as it may sound, this explanation opens up even more haunting questions. What did she experience in her final moments? A violent incident? A tragic accident? An attack? Unfortunately, to this day, no one has been able to provide a definitive answer. Even more puzzling, when scientists examined her internal organs, they were shocked to find that her heart, lungs, liver, spleen, kidneys, and even her intestines were all still intact. This is highly unusual. During Egypt's New Kingdom period, mummification typically involved removing nearly all internal organs, leaving only the heart, believed to be the seat of the soul and memory. So why was this woman preserved differently? And who authorized it? No one knows. But this unusual treatment suggests that she may have been someone very close to Senenmut, or at least extremely important to his family. In fact, the burial chamber where she was found also contained the remains of Senenmut's mother, along with several other unidentified relatives. All of this paints a haunting picture. A woman of noble origin, carefully mummified with great respect, yet who died under circumstances so dramatic that her face permanently captured her final agony. This is precisely what makes the Screaming Woman one of the most fascinating mysteries of ancient Egypt, not just because of her scream, but because of the unresolved story behind it. Who was she? Why did she die? And what message does that silent scream carry across more than 3 millennia? A 7,200-year-old teenage girl's skeleton that changed human history in Sulawesi. Deep within the dense tropical rainforests of Indonesia, where humidity, darkness, and time seemed to merge into one, a secret that had slept for more than 7 millennia was suddenly awakened. Remarkably, this secret was not hidden inside a pyramid or an ancient city, but deep within what appeared to be an ordinary cave. The discovery was announced in August 2021, when British scientists revealed a groundbreaking find on the Indonesian island of Sulawesi. Inside Layang Paningay Cave, known locally as the Bat Cave, they uncovered a fossilized skeleton dating back approximately 7,200 years, belonging to a previously unknown human population. From the very moment of excavation, the atmosphere inside the cave felt extraordinary, as if the site were preserving traces of a long-forgotten ancient culture. Initial analysis showed that the remains belonged to a young teenage girl, estimated to have been 17 to 18 years old at the time of her death. She had been buried in a fetal position, her body tightly curled and partially covered by large stone slabs. This burial method suggests that her death was not accidental or random, but rather part of a deliberate funerary ritual, reflecting the beliefs and customs of an ancient community previously unknown to us. Surrounding the skeleton, archaeologists discovered several associated artifacts, including crudely made stone tools, red ochre, an iron-rich mineral often ground into pigment for ritual use, and the bones of various animals. These remains indicate that people of that era possessed a rich spiritual life, practiced hunting and gathering, and conducted symbolic rituals. What truly sets this discovery apart, however, lies in its genetic significance. When DNA analysis was conducted, scientists were astonished to find that the young girl's genetic makeup displayed an unprecedented mixture. Approximately half of her genome showed connections to indigenous Australians, Papuan populations of New Guinea, and certain communities from the western Pacific Islands. This finding reveals that Sulawesi was a crossroads of ancient human populations far earlier and far more complex than previously imagined. Using radiocarbon dating, researchers determined that the skeleton dates to between 7,200 and 7,300 years ago. Professor Adam Brum of Griffith University, co-leader of the research team, also noted that the skeleton was discovered alongside artifacts characteristic of the Toalean people. The Toaleans were an early group of hunter-gatherers who lived in isolation within the forests of southern Sulawesi from roughly 8,000 to 1,500 years ago. They were known for their impressive survival skills, primarily hunting wild pigs, collecting river-dwelling shellfish, and using small yet highly effective stone tools. Although they never built large monuments, the Toaleans left clear traces of their presence through cave sites, artifacts, and now this mysterious young girl's skeleton. Even so, the fate of the Toalean people and their culture remains a major unanswered question. No one knows exactly what led to their disappearance. Most modern inhabitants of Sulawesi are believed to descend from Neolithic populations that migrated from Taiwan around 3,500 years ago, long after the Toaleans had vanished. For this reason, the discovery of this 7,200-year-old teenage girl's skeleton does more than illuminate the life and death of a single young individual from the distant past. It opens an entirely new chapter in our understanding of human evolution, migration, and diversity on the island of Sulawesi. A small skeleton, yet powerful enough to shake the way we view the history of humankind. Quite remarkable, isn't it? Quite remarkable. The writings on bamboo slips, found in an ancient well in China that forced history to be rewritten. Xiangxi, a mountainous region in Hunan Province, China, has long possessed a beauty that is both wild and mysterious. It is home to many ethnic minority groups who have lived there for hundreds, if not thousands of years, among them the Miao people, who have left a particularly strong cultural imprint. The ancient houses, stone pathways, and moss-covered ruins seem to whisper stories of the past at every turn. And surprisingly, it was on this seemingly quiet land that an archaeological discovery emerged, one so extraordinary that it sent shockwaves across China. In 2002, while an archaeological team was excavating the ruins of the ancient Ligia city site, they unexpectedly uncovered an ancient well buried beneath the rubble. Initial surveys determined that the well dated back to the Qin dynasty. That fact alone was enough to spark intense curiosity. After all, a well more than 2,000 years old. What secrets might be hidden at its bottom? After careful planning and safety preparations, archaeologists decided to descend into the well. And at that moment, it was as if history itself opened an entirely new door. Beneath layers of mud that had accumulated over millennia, they discovered an enormous number of ancient bamboo slips, covered with inscriptions from the Qin dynasty. In total, 37,000 bamboo slips were recovered, containing approximately 200,000 Chinese characters. This collection was later named the Ligia bamboo slips, and it was quickly recognized as one of the most important archaeological discoveries in China in the 21st century. So what made the Ligia bamboo slips so groundbreaking? The answer lies in their content. These writings do not merely record Qin administrative documents and legal texts, they also present accounts of pre-Qin history and the Qin dynasty itself from perspectives that differ significantly from traditional historical records. Most notably, these texts date to a highly sensitive period in Chinese history, shortly after the infamous event known as burning of the books and burying of the scholars, initiated by Qin Shi Huang in 213 and 212 BCE. In an effort to unify thought and consolidate power, the Qin government destroyed vast numbers of books and suppressed scholars, leaving behind enormous gaps in the historical record. Because of this, the Ligia bamboo slips are regarded as an invaluable missing piece, one that has the potential not only to fill those gaps, but even to challenge the officially accepted version of history. Some of the information recorded on the slips does not fully align with traditional accounts, prompting archaeologists to proceed with extreme caution. To this day, they have not dared to release the complete contents. Many characters are badly decayed and difficult to decipher, while other passages are considered too sensitive. China has previously unearthed ancient texts with profound historical impact. A notable example is the Yinqueshan bamboo slips, discovered in 1972 in Shandong province, which confirmed the existence of Sun Bin's art of war and clarified long-standing debates surrounding Sun Tzu's art of war. However, in terms of scale, completeness, and historical influence, the Ligia bamboo slips are considered even more significant. Among them is a multiplication table, believed to contain the earliest known multiplication calculations in the world. Today, the Ligia bamboo slips are preserved and displayed at a museum in Ligia, Hunan Province, China. Although only a very small portion of their contents has been made public so far, even that is enough to leave viewers in awe of the immense weight of history they carry. A silent reminder that sometimes, a few forgotten words can change everything we thought we knew about the past. 300-year-old mother and child mummy of Hungary. Imagine one day you are strolling through a quiet, peaceful town, and suddenly, beneath the floor of a church, you uncover more than 250 perfectly preserved mummies. How would you react? Personally, I'd probably feel my heart drop straight to the ground, then bend down to pick it up again. As unbelievable as it sounds, this actually happened at the Dominican church in the town of Vach, Hungary, a place that had been hiding a secret beneath its cold crypt for over 300 years. And no, that's not an exaggeration. Among the hundreds of preserved bodies, two mummies in particular left archaeologists wide-eyed and viewers like us feeling a mix of curiosity and heartbreak. They were the mummified remains of a mother, Veronika Skripets, age 38, and her tiny one-year-old son, Johannes Orlowitz. The story began in 1994, when repair workers were renovating the church and accidentally poked into history, uncovering an entire hidden world beneath the building. Coffins stacked in rows, clothing that had not rotted away, and even hair strands still perfectly intact. The crypt's dry, cold air had naturally preserved the bodies so well that they looked as if they had passed away only months earlier. It sounds eerie, yes, but for scientists, it was a living archive of the past. After their discovery, the mother and child mummies were carefully preserved and studied for many years. In April 2016, doctors at the Orange County Global Medical Center in California decided to use advanced CT scanning technology to decode their lives and causes of death. Honestly, watching scientists peel back layers of time like that is even more thrilling than a detective movie. They had no antibiotics, no vaccines. Children died all the time, one expert explained. It's heartbreaking to hear. Today, even a minor infection can be treated, but back then, such illnesses were often a death sentence. After a month of analysis, the results became clear. Veronika, the devoted mother, died in 1808 from tuberculosis. Scarring was still visible in her lungs. Johannes, the chubby little boy, died from dysentery, a disease that today can often be treated with simple fluid replacement, but 300 years ago was frequently fatal. What makes the story even more heartbreaking is this. Veronika had 3 children, and none of them lived past the age of 2. Just imagining a mother burying her child and then dying herself soon after is enough to make anyone's chest tighten. But their journey did not end there. The 2 mummies were transported to the United States and displayed in the exhibition Mummies of the World at the Bowers Museum until September 2016. Thousands of visitors stood before them, not with fear, but with deep respect for this fragment of human history. Earlier, the mummy of Michael Orlowitz, Veronika's first husband, had also undergone CT scanning. He died in 1806, 2 years before Veronika. In a way, the 3 of them were reunited through science, explored together as a family once more. Thanks to church records and inscriptions on the coffins, researchers were able to identify names, occupations, and dates of birth and death for many of the mummies. Few places in the world are fortunate enough to possess such a detailed crypt directory, allowing historians to piece together lives long buried by time. And here's something both strange and fascinating. When the coffins were opened, scientists reportedly froze in disbelief. Hair, skin, clothing, nearly everything was still intact. Normally, opening a coffin reveals nothing more than bones. But here, it felt as though they were meeting real people from the 18th century, lying peacefully, almost gently. From lung tissue to signs of physical exhaustion, Veronica's body told the story of a woman who battled illness for years. As for Johannes, his tiny round legs suggested that he had been lovingly cared for until his very last moments. You see, this story is not just about mummies or archaeology. It is a reminder of the harsh struggle for survival faced by ordinary people who lived 300 years ago. It reminds us that beneath layers of earth lie countless lives that once loved, hoped, and endured, sometimes hoping for nothing more than to see their child live one more day. And strangely enough, despite the vast distance of time, our emotional response remains the same. A little curiosity, a slight chill, but above all, deep compassion. Isn't that true? The world's heaviest, 2,400-year-old ancient coffin reveals a truth that enraged experts. When it comes to Chinese archaeology, comparing which ancient tomb is the most magnificent or luxurious is no easy task. Over the years, numerous ancient burial sites have been excavated, uncovering astonishing numbers of priceless grave goods, such as those found at the Sangsing Dui site, Mawang Dui, or the tomb of the Marquis of Haihun. Each of these sites yielded extraordinary treasures that amaze the archaeological world. However, if the question is which tomb contained the heaviest coffin ever discovered, the most accurate answer would be the coffin from the tomb of Marquis Yi of Zheng, located in Suizhou, Hubei province. The discovery of Marquis Yi's tomb itself caused a nationwide sensation in China. Its scale was several times larger than that of the Han Dynasty Mawangdui tombs in Changsha. Within an excavation area of approximately 2,370 square feet, archaeologists uncovered numerous national treasures, including the famous bronze bells of Marquis Yi of Zheng, a dragon and phoenix jade pendant composed of 16 pieces, and a bronze crane standing on deer antlers. All of these artifacts are considered priceless national-level treasures. Yet even among these remarkable discoveries, the massive coffin inside Marquis Yi's tomb left experts equally astonished. The coffin found in the tomb was enormous. After careful measurements, the archaeological team could hardly believe their eyes when they confirmed its weight, approximately 9 metric tons, or nearly 19,800 pounds. This staggering figure makes it the heaviest coffin ever discovered in an ancient tomb anywhere in the world. Naturally, this raised countless questions. How could people in ancient times, given their extremely limited scientific and technological conditions, have transported a coffin weighing nearly 20,000 pounds? Even today, this would be a daunting task. During the excavation, archaeologists had to deploy multiple cranes just to attempt to move it. At one point, with a lifting capacity of about 17,600 pounds was used to hoist the coffin. The result was shocking. The coffin did not move at all. Instead, the rear of the crane lifted off the ground. The coffin itself weighed about 9 metric tons, and the lid alone weighed roughly 2 metric tons, or about 4,400 pounds. This was nothing short of astonishing. On one side of the coffin, researchers also discovered a small door, believed to have been designed as a symbolic passage for the soul of Marquis Yi to enter and leave. As for the tomb's owner, Marquis Yi of Zheng was the ruler of the state of Zheng, also known as the state of Sui, a small vassal state under the Zhou royal house during the spring and autumn and warring states periods. Historical records indicate that Zheng was a minor state located next to the powerful state of Chu. Fearing that the Chu king might destroy his state at any time, Marquis Yi reportedly paid annual tribute to Chu, bringing large quantities of gold, jade, and treasures, along with beautiful women. However, after Marquis Yi died of illness, his descendants no longer had valuable offerings to present to Chu. As a result, the Chu king eventually ordered the destruction of the state of Zheng. Further archaeological and historical research has revealed an even more controversial side of Marquis Yi. Many of the cultural relics excavated from his tomb bear inscriptions associated with him, but some of these inscriptions show clear signs of alteration. For example, on a bronze plate found in the tomb, experts identified the name of Marquis Yi's maternal grandfather. However, Marquis Yi had erased that name and re-engraved his own, an act considered deeply unfilial by the moral standards of ancient China. What saddened and enraged experts even more was the discovery that, in addition to the 9-ton coffin, 22 other coffins were found in the tomb. 21 of them belonged to young women. The oldest was only 26 years old, while the youngest was about 13. The tallest stood at approximately 5 feet 3 inches, and the shortest was just over 4 feet 7 inches tall. In yet another coffin, archaeologists found the remains of a dog, believed to have been one of Marquis Yee's beloved pets. This raises a haunting question. Were these 21 young women buried as sacrificial companions to Marquis Yee, or did they die for some other reason? Experts believe it is highly likely that they were buried alive or killed as part of a burial sacrifice, a practice known as human sacrifice burial. This conclusion has caused deep outrage among scholars, as it highlights the cruelty and irrationality of such ancient customs. Even more disturbingly, this practice persisted in various forms until as late as the Qing dynasty. If this interpretation is correct, then what lies beneath this magnificent tomb is not only extraordinary craftsmanship, but also a brutally violent and inhumane chapter of human history. A discovery that forces us to confront not just the splendor of the past, but also its darkest truths. The mass grave that exposes the horrific crimes of Hitler's Nazi regime. Dear friends, there are lands that seem peaceful on the surface, but if you dig just a little beneath, the bloody history buried there can emerge in a chillingly clear way. A stark example of this has recently come to light through an archaeological, or rather historic, excavation of a mass grave that once again exposes the brutal crimes committed by Hitler and the Nazi regime during World War II, shocking the world. Rewinding to the period between 1941 and 1943, when Nazi Germany launched its fierce campaigns against the Soviet Union, the invaders did not only bring bombs and tanks, they also carried out silent, ruthless massacres targeting innocent civilians. Women, children, the elderly, all became victims of the cold machinery of Nazi war. The mass grave recently uncovered by experts is located near Veliki Novgorod, roughly 360 miles northwest of Moscow. On the map, it may seem like just another place, but what lay beneath the ground reveals that this was once hell on earth. Inside this grave, approximately 3,700 bodies were buried together with no regard for age, gender, or social status. Just imagining nearly 4,000 people buried in silence for decades is enough to take one's breath away. Even more horrifying, during the excavation, experts discovered traces of extreme violence on the remains. Many victims had gunshot wounds to the head, others were stabbed with bayonets, and some had even been buried alive. These were not casualties of battle, they were deliberate executions. Most tragically, many of the victims were women and children, completely defenseless against such atrocities. Historically, the area where the grave was found had long been known in documents as a site of mass executions carried out by Nazi forces during World War II. However, it was only through this excavation that the full scale and brutality of these crimes became fully visible. Each skeleton unearthed tells a tragic story, a living testament to the inhumanity of the Nazi regime. Currently, experts are working to determine the age, sex, and cause of death of each victim. This is not an easy task, as time has eroded many physical traces. At the same time, researchers are studying archival documents, military records, and historical witness accounts to better understand the executions carried out by Nazi forces in the Soviet Union during the war. This discovery is not only significant from an archaeological or scientific perspective, it is a haunting reminder that war crimes can never truly be buried forever. No matter how long the earth covers them, the truth eventually resurfaces. And every time it does, history forces humanity to face the question, how can such tragedies be prevented from ever happening again? The remains in that cold earth are not just statistics, they were people who lived, had families, and harbored dreams. The excavation of this mass grave ensures that they are given a voice, that the world does not forget, and that history remembers the painful truth of their suffering. The fossilized Romeo and Juliet dinosaurs, 75 million years preserved in the desert. Amid the vast sands and rocks of the Gobi Desert, a place where the sun and wind seem determined to erase every trace of life, scientists stumbled upon a story that leaves one breathless with emotion. It wasn't a treasure of gold or silver, nor a newly discovered dinosaur species, but the fossilized remains of two dinosaurs lying side by side, dying at the same moment around 75 million years ago. Remarkably, the evidence suggests that before their deaths, these dinosaurs may have been courting each other. The study was published in scientific reports and quickly captured the attention of both the scientific community and the public. When paleontologists examined the posture and features of the fossilized pair, they couldn't help but draw a connection to one of humanity's most famous love stories. And so, the dinosaurs were nicknamed Romeo and Juliet, a way to retell the oldest known love story on Earth. The research team was led by paleontologist Scott Persons from the University of Alberta. During analysis, the team discovered that one of the dinosaurs had a long feather on its tail. However, this feather was not suitable for flight, suggesting it served another purpose. The question then arose, if it wasn't for survival, what was it for? Upon closer examination, experts noted that both individuals were the same age, but the tail of one was larger, taller, and had a distinct structure. From this, they concluded that the pair consisted of a male and a female dinosaur. Determining the sex of dinosaurs is usually extremely difficult, as most fossils leave no direct indicators of gender, making this discovery particularly rare and scientifically valuable. Scott Persons proposed an intriguing hypothesis. The tail feather of Juliet may have been used to court Romeo. While it may sound unusual, the tailbone structure supports the idea. The female dinosaur's tail had a well-developed, flexible musculature capable of lifting and performing fluid whipping motions. This likely functioned as a mating dance, where the female displayed her beauty and signaled readiness to her partner. Imagine it. In that ancient landscape, two young dinosaurs at the peak of reproductive maturity, one gracefully waving her feathered tail in the sunlight, the other watching intently. That moment, tens of millions of years removed from us, still feels remarkably alive and relatable. Scientists believe the reason the Romeo and Juliet fossils are so exceptionally well preserved is that they were quickly buried under the thick sands of the Gobi Desert. Perhaps a sudden sandstorm or unexpected natural disaster entombed them, preserving their final postures for millions of years. Today, researchers continue to study this extraordinary pair, hoping to learn more about dinosaur mating behavior, social life, and even emotional interactions. Who knows, through the story of Romeo and Juliet from 75 million years ago, we may uncover even more astonishing secrets about the era when dinosaurs ruled the Earth. And that's entirely possible, isn't it? You see, history always knows how to spark curiosity in modern people in its own unique way. And the discoveries we've just explored are the clearest proof of that. So, which of these findings impressed you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss any videos from ancient history. For now, goodbye and see you next time.